It's the real news. I'm Aaron Mate. Making good on a longtime threat, President Trump has announced he's withdrawing the U.S. from the Iran nuclear deal.
The Iran deal is defective at its core. If we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen. In just a short period of time, the world's leading state sponsor of terror will be on the cusp of acquiring the world's most dangerous weapons. Therefore, I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Trump has directed his administration to reimpose sanctions that were lifted as part of the 2015 agreement, which capped Iran's enrichment of uranium. The deal's other members say they want to keep it, but that will be difficult with the U.S. dropping out. Speaking in Tehran, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said Iran will hold talks with the deal's remaining members.
If we come to the conclusion that with the collaboration of 5 countries, it is feasible to attain what the Iranian people wish, despite the views of the U.S. and the Zionist regime, and also the impolite remarks by Trump, we should see whether it's possible to just keep up with JCPOA and also take steps in line with regional peace and tranquility.
Joining me is Jamal Abdi, Policy Director of the National Iranian American Council. Welcome, Jamal. Your group had just put out a statement saying that this decision is reckless and saying that it's put the U.S. on the path to war with Iran. Why?
Well, to start with, you just need to look at the people that are in the White House now. I think Donald Trump entered the White House with an intent to unravel the Iran deal, but largely motivated by his bizarre animus towards Barack Obama and wanting to undo his legacy. Since then, we have seen the people around him who argued against killing the deal at each deadline gradually being shown the door, and the people that have come in, people like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, have long argued for military action against Iran. John Bolton wrote just a couple of years ago that we need to start bombing Iran. He wrote an article, an open memo to Trump about how he would leave the deal, and it included all of these measures that are steps that you would take as you prepare for war. Fundamentally, though, I think the reason that this puts us on a path to war, it's not just the advisors, it's not just the precarious situation in the region and all the potential tripwires, but it's that Trump has taken diplomacy off of the table. He has made it so that no Iranian leader, certainly not Rouhani at this point in time, can enter negotiations with the United States after this black eye that has been given to his administration and to the entire notion that you can engage the U.S. This is an important debate that has been happening in the Islamic Republic for years, for decades. And I think what Trump did today was he effectively said, he solved that debate once and for all and said, no, negotiating with the United States is a trap. You are going to be weakened by it. And if you take diplomacy off the table, there are measures that fall short of that, sanctions and pressure campaigns. But the reason that the Obama administration entered negotiations with Iran and was prepared to make the compromises necessary to get this deal was that there was a recognition by the Obama administration that we were running out of ways to actually deal with the Iranian nuclear challenge. And we were rapidly approaching a situation in which we would need to either be prepared to live with an Iran that had the capability to break out and build a nuclear weapon without being detected, or we were going to go to war with Iran. And I think now we have once again reduced our options to those two.
It's worth remembering that Obama did try the route of crippling sanctions first before diplomacy happened, as you're just explaining. But the fact that those sanctions failed to work, I think, was a big part of the calculus behind the decision to make this deal with Iran. as your colleague Trita Parsi documents in his recent book. Let me ask you then, what happens with the sanctions with the U.S. now reimposing them? European allies, Russia and China also are saying they're committed to the deal, but can they make up for the huge consequences of now the U.S. reimposing sanctions that were lifted as part of the deal?
Yeah, not only are we now playing a game of nuclear chicken with Iran, we are now playing a game of, economic chicken with Europe and the rest of the world. I think the words coming out of Europe are fantastic. The notion that we're going to continue the deal and try to make this work. Rouhani and Iran saying the same thing. I think it's going to be very, very difficult in practice to actually make that happen. If the United States, as President Trump indicated today, really goes full bore with these sanctions and makes it so that European entities that want to do business with Iran are going to be locked out of the United States, if you have Iranian banks designated as on the sanctions list, it's going to be extremely difficult for these entities to do business with Iran unless Europe really does want to stand up to the United States and put blocking measures in place and really fence off some of these operations. And that would be a pretty significant undertaking. It's not completely impossible, but I think the signals that came out of Europe in the lead up to this decision, in which you had Macron, you had Merkel coming to the White House and sort of validating almost what Trump was saying, being willing to play ball with this absurd notion that Trump was trying to fix the deal instead of just kill it. I think that signaled to the Trump administration that they could bully Europe, and Europe was going to take it and wasn't actually prepared to stand up to defend this deal. So, if I were to place a bet, I don't think that Europe is ready to really stand up to the United States and protect the deal, but I hope that I'm proven wrong.
All right, so then we have 30 seconds. What then will be, do you think, the Iranian government's next moves, and what kinds of pressures are they going to be under now with U.S. sanctions back in place?
Well, I think this actually makes things, in some respect, more simple for the Iranian government. Whereas the nuclear deal and the opening up of the Iranian economy actually put sort of upward pressure on the government from the population. This move by the United States, I think, will risk creating this rally around the flag effect and really, sort of takes away that pressure from the population. But this is going to be very tough for the Iranian economy. I think that they're going to look towards China and Russia as their main supporters and hope that they can, as Rouhani said, rely on what he said were the two superpowers in order to keep the economy afloat.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Join us in part 2. My guest is Jamal Abdi, Policy Director of the National Iranian American Council.